All right, Unit 8, we're doing equations with rational numbers. So we kind of touched on equations a little bit in some of our other lessons, but now we're going to kind of put that to the test with our negative number rules. So you want to kind of be thinking about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. We're doing it all today. And that you can evaluate equations that involve rational numbers. So that includes fractions and decimals. So this is kind of going to be a heavy. So, there we go. All right, so let's look at the first one. Which one doesn't belong? So remember, with these, you can choose any of them that don't belong. So when I'm looking at them, I'm looking for things that kind of jump out at me. So I automatically, drawing tool, Katie. So I automatically see this one because it's the only one with a variable of t. But you could have chosen other ones. You could have said, this is the only one, this is the only one that uses addition. You could have said, this is the only one with a fraction. You could say, this one is the only one with decimals, however you wanted to explain it. All right, so now we're going to drag and drop. So I'm going to turn off my drawing tool, and I'm going to think, okay, what has to happen? So to undo, remember, we're undoing. So A says 5 times x, so I'm multiplying by 5. So to undo it, I'm going to have to divide each side by 5. I don't want to divide each side by a negative 5 because that's currently a positive 5. B says x divided by 5 is equal to 8. So if I want to undo the division, I'm going to multiply each side by 5. Not by negative 5 because that's currently a positive 5. Okay, so now it says, and this is where it gets a little tricky, we're dividing by negative x divided by 5. Now that negative sign, because of the way answers work, that negative sign can be applied to the 5 or the x. So because we're dividing, we're going to multiply now each side by negative 5. That leaves my x with a positive value. The last one says negative 5 times x. So right now I want to divide each side by negative 5. Because remember, we're trying to isolate our variable. We're trying to get our variable on its own. So now we're going to solve us some problems. So right now we're multiplying by 2/5. So now we're going to divide by 2/5 on each side of my equation. Okay, 2/5 divided by 2/5 leaves me with 1t. So now I'm going to do 6 over 1 times 5 over 2 because I've got to finish solving this out. So t is going to equal 30 over 2. But wait, I want to finish it. So 30 divided by 2, so t equals 15. Okay. So now we're going to try this one. So we've subtracted 8. So the goal is to create our 0 pairs. We want to zero it out. So if I have negative 8, then a 0 pair would be positive 8. So I'm going to add a positive 8 here. So negative 8 and positive 8 make 0 because it's zeroed itself out. So I'm left with A equals. So I can get my drawing tools out again, and I can go, okay, I have 8 positives, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I have 4 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a half. So I don't know how I want to draw that. I'm going to draw it like that. Okay, so that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is actually going to be a half. So I'm left with 3 and a half, and that's going to be positive because it's red. Or 3.5, your choice. Okay, so this one, we want to zero it out. So if I have a positive, if I'm adding 1/2, I want to subtract 1/2 from each side. So 1/2, 1 minus 1/2 zeroes out, and I'm left with P equals -3 over 1 minus 1/2. Well, let's change that to an addition equation. So P equals -3 over 1 plus a -1/2. Okay? So now we're going to change around our denominators to make sure that they're equal so that we can go ahead and do this. So I know that I need them to both have 2's, so that makes this a -6. -6/2. So -6/2 plus a -1/2 is -7/2. Okay, so that's going to give me a -7/2 or 3 1/2, and that's going to be negative. Doesn't matter how you do it, but you just got to figure out how to make it make sense in your brain. Okay, this one, we're multiplying by our variable, so we're going to divide on each side. We want to get it so that if we've multiplied, we're going to divide. So -3 divided by -3 leaves me with 1y. So 12 divided by -12 divided by -3 leaves me with 4, and it's going to be positive because both of these are negatives. When the signs are the same, the answer is positive. All right, so now we're going to do some drag and drop. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my drawing tool. We're going to do some drag and drop. So it says drag and drop the appropriate answer next to the equation. So let's start thinking. Okay, what can I do? So I know something plus -2 is going to give me -6.5. So that could be a -4.5 right there, I think. Because a -4.5, yes. So I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to drag it right there. All right, so then I'm thinking, okay, if I divide by 2, I'm going to get 3.5. So it's got to be a -3.5 to get a +7. So -3.5. So I'm going to drag that over here. Oops, see, I keep making it smaller. There we go. All right, so now same thing up here. If I multiply by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. So 9 divided by 2 is going to give me 4.5. But we have a negative and a negative, so that means it's got to be a +4.5 this time. Alrighty. So then, goodness knows. So I have a -2, and I want to be left with a +1.5, or I want to be left with a +1/2. So I'm going to have to add 2.5 here, a +2.5 here, to be left with that +1/2. So you're kind of using your mental math. All right, so now I'm stuck with these two, and I'm actually going to turn on my drawing tool, maybe, and I'm going to work these two out. So if I divide by 1/2, so that would be 1/4 divided by -1/2. So that would be 1/4 times 2 over 1, which will give me 2 over 4, which gives me a -1/2, right? So I need to look, and aha, I do have it. So I'm going to turn off my drawing tool, drag it over, and then I'm going to work out this one up here. So I'm dividing by 1/2, so I have -5 over 1 divided by 1/2. So -5 over 1 times 2 over 1, I'm left with -10. Because there's only one negative, that means my answer has to be negative. And it worked out. So now I need you to solve each of these equations, okay? So you need to think about the sign. You need to think about, okay, what's happening here? How do I figure out what the missing value is? Okay, so each time you're kind of using that logical reasoning. What can I plug in, or what can I substitute for my variable to get my answer? You're going to do the same thing here, and there are going to be answer choices. So it might be nice to split your screen between Canvas and this picture so that you can kind of see it all. All right, so you're going to go ahead and submit. If you need extra practice, Khan Academy has some great extra practice. Mr. Morgan's help videos are there. You can call a study buddy, or you can make an appointment with me on Calendly. I'm more than happy to go over integer rules with you.